Hello friends, how are you? I'm Fenrir, and today I'm going to talk about the Werewolf Cult. I am a person who praises the ability to be civilized and to be polite and try to communicate with another human being in a thoughtful and respectful way. To show sensibility, being cordial, gracious and as pleasant as possible. I like to listen, ponder, and I try to show some friendliness. I praise this ability because I know that it doesn't matter who you are and where you have come from. There is, without a doubt, a beast in you. It's perfectly normal, and on a specific occasion in life, in just one single moment when we are pushed too far, no matter how much we have tried to contain that beast one way or another, this beast stirs and wants to get out. After all, nature is as beautiful as it is cruel, and we are part of nature. And we, as human beings, in the long span of time of our existence, we have spent more time as wild creatures than we have spent time as civilized people. We are part of nature, and the beast in each one of us is still there. So I praise the ability to be civilized because it's not easy to contain that beast. Surely, to some, it is certainly easier than most, but when you find someone you just sense it's a very dangerous beast, you do have to praise that person's ability to be civilized and contain that beast within. How hard it is not to unleash it upon the world. Violence is not good. Violence is not something to be praised. Violence solves nothing. What we must praise is the ability to control violence and only unleash the beast within when there is no other way, simply as a way of surviving. Because it's easy to be a monster. It's there. It has always been. The hardest thing is to contain our monstrosity. There is no beauty without ugliness, there is no order without chaos. And a person is not whole if it isn't able to acknowledge its wild nature, understand it, and learn from it and being able to control it. Knowing ourselves and controlling our emotions is a constant struggle, but it must be done. Otherwise, there would be nothing left to live for, because we would have devoured everything if we weren't able to control the darkest and wildest aspects of our nature. A good person is not a harmless person. A good person is a very, very dangerous person who has it all under control for its own protection, well-being and happiness, and the protection and well-being of others. Every perspective we have of life, we think it's the right one, but we can always invert things and give it another meaning. The warrior cult, the werewolf cult, was never about war and conflict and rejoice in battle frenzy, in the madness, fury and rage all over our bodies. Because that's easy to reach. It's not a great ability. We all have it and we all know how to get it and when to get it. It just comes naturally to us. The werewolf cult is about finding the ecstasy after the fury, after the madness. It's about sensing all that energy inside you, control it, building up the rage, feeling it running through your limbs and your fingers, stiffen, and all that energy is trying to get out as if it were claws. You sense it running up your body, in your veins, in your throat. You can almost taste it. Then you unleash all that energy, push it away, push it out of your body, and all that heavy destructive rage is gone and you feel lighter. You exhale one last time and you find ecstasy in that state. We are all wild creatures of the natural world. We are all beasts of nature. Violence comes naturally to us. What we should praise is the ability to control the beast within, but not denying it. When we accept our nature, we can have a better control over it, and we can conduct all our efforts towards living a harmonious life with our own nature and the nature of others. And this is what we are going to talk about today. Our ancestors surely did not survive and succeeded in their exploits to conquer lands solely with sweet words and kindness. We survived this far because we adapt, and we adapt because we are animals of the wilds, resilient but also quite violent. Let's not pretend that when we were pagans it was all about rainbows and dances in the forest, and people were not as violent as Christians were or have been. There was human sacrifice, there was pillaging, burning, killing, raping. Religion does not dictate our nature. In fact, it only serves to put limitations on our own thoughts, and we forget who we are. Religion is the spear that wounds the beast and puts it in a cage, and we succumb to that fate, and we will never feel whole. Unhappy, hurt, bleeding, we become even more infuriated, and we let our wild nature control us, and we bring destruction upon the world. But I like to believe we are smarter than that, and we can again be wild and free as we were before religions dictated what we should or should not do. Anyway, we have all heard about werewolves, the wolf beasts and wolfmen, who are the very personification of chaos and the darkness in the night. Fairy tales, myths, and stories provide understanding throughout generations, which sharpens our insight, and so in this way we will never forget. Even if the civilized world we have built for ourselves was made to chain our wild nature, such stories will help us to pick up the path we left behind and find it again towards the great joy of accepting our wild spirit. Such fairy tales are not pure fantasy, but the ancestral memory that still leads us deep into our conscious. When we hear about werewolves or wolf creatures, those words awaken old memories, and they are brought back to life. The memory of our absolute, pure, unquestionable wild side. A wild nature still in the depths of our minds that may have been numbed and buried by our self-domestication and from neglecting our origins. And maybe we don't even understand it anymore, but it wasn't utterly forgotten, not yet. In our bones we feel it. We hear its call constantly. We yearn for it. We know it belongs to us and we belong to it. Among the ancient hordes of warriors that spread terror over the lands, there was a group of werewolf warriors. They were the young cubs of the warrior class of each tribe, separated from their families at a very young age and sent away for a prolonged period of military training in the wild places of the world. They were initiated into the wolf pack, and what was required of them was never to entirely lose their wild nature. The world of man was changing. It was becoming civilized, tamed, domesticated. So the fury of the wolf pack was needed to be preserved, because such warriors were the key for the survival of the tribe. The tribe was small, warriors weren't many, but it was the ferocity of the wolf pack that ensured survival. And without such young warriors, the tribe would risk being overwhelmed by their enemies. The warriors in this wolf pack were neither living nor dead, neither children nor adults, but simply beasts. The young wolves behaved like the beasts they were meant to be. Their wild nature was pushed too far until they were nothing more than just wild creatures. When our ancestors wanted to seize land, they counted on the ferocity of these wolf warriors. Upon conquering land and its people, these wolf warriors were too wild to be kept within the tribe, within the confinement of the community, the civilized world. They were too wild, too dangerous, and their purpose was clear: to move quickly, kill, destroy, unleash the fury and ravage the land with their ghostly howls. Our ancestors, especially during the Bronze Age, their entire social system was set to conquer land, take more property, secure it, protect it, support it, and perpetuate the taking of more and better land. Our ancestors have grown, and they constantly needed more land to support more children, so that they could raise more warriors to seize more land. A perpetual warrior cult in which specific children were turned into wolves. A small force to be the backbone of the tribe, to ensure the success of the tribe, its survival, and to seize more land. When the land was taken, the wolf pack was sent away into the wilds and called upon whenever they were necessary. Once again, they were too wild and dangerous to be kept within the tribe, but necessary for the survival of the tribe, so they were never seen as true citizens, true members of the tribe. The moment they had been taken away from their families and began their training to become beasts, they stopped being seen as humans, neither living nor dead, neither children nor adults. No humans anymore, just werewolves, full-time warriors dedicated to battle. Their wild nature was pure, but that was all they had. When our ancestors settled down, when there was no more land to be taken, the werewolves lost their purpose and were cast aside. Alone with their wild nature, they have succumbed to despair, and there was a feeling of emptiness that led them to their own misery and destruction. Eventually, some succeeded and became civilized, had children, constructed their families. But their wild nature was still there, and they never felt truly whole. Something was missing. The wild still called to them. But in a civilized world, there was no place for the calling. Their children grew up, their children's children grew up, and the wild call remained. And many to this day still hear the call, but feel empty, because in a civilized world, there is no place to accept our wild nature, because there is no place to unleash it and truly be free. But we still feel it, and we should acknowledge it, learn from it, accept it, and control it, living with it, because so far, what most of us have done is to constantly deny the chaos in us, constantly denying the existence of our wild spirits that still reside in us, and we feel it, but by denying our own wild nature, we feel miserable and alone. And so we should embrace it, howl once in a while, run free into the wilds, feel the earth in our paws, the wind in our fur, and taste the wild nature in our mouths. When we lose touch with our instincts, we live in a destructive state where we are neither sleeping nor quite awake. We do not feel alive, yet we are not dead yet. Something is missing. And all the images in our heads, all that power that is natural to us, has been denied, and the world of man doesn't allow a full development of such sensitivity. When we are cut from the basic source of existence, this wild nature we have, we completely lose the sense of the natural cycles of nature and our place in those cycles, our place in this world. We are surrounded by nature, We are surrounded by the wilds calling to us, yet we are not allowed to make an answer, to call back or even touch it. But it's right there. We feel it. No matter the era we live in, the country, the religions we have, the politics and notions of good and right or evil, our wild nature doesn't change. And we are in this state of depression, loneliness, anguish, anxiety, because for thousands of generations we have forcibly tried to domesticate ourselves and denied our true nature. But I believe that if we truly accept our wild side, we can have a better life in our civilized world. It is possible to maintain a healthy balance between the civilized and the wild. We often try to tame the land and force our civilization upon it, introducing our civilization to the natural world that clearly has shown us that it doesn't want it and it doesn't need our ways. We should turn things over. Every perspective we have of life, we think it's the right one, but we can always invert things and give it another meaning. It's nature that we should introduce in civilization, not the other way around. When we understand the wild nature as a being, as a force of life that animates our world and our minds, and it is part of us as we are part of it, we can begin to develop ways and go through paths never before thought possible. We must not deny the spiritual being in ourselves, the wild side of each one of us, or we will never truly understand what it means to be alive. This wild nature we so fervently try to hide, or were forced to, reminds me of the great wolf Fenrir from Norse mythology. The great wolf Fenrir is the figuration of the wild, the pure force of primordial chaos that simply has no place in the orderly world the Aesir want to create. Their civilized perspectives of how things should be cannot possibly accept such a powerful force, or it will surely destroy the order they want to impose. They fear such a wild force, and so they chain this force, they contain it, restrain it, because they fear that this pure wild force might devour the world they want to build. Fenrir is the true essence of the black wolf, the symbol of wrathful chaos. Fenrir is the untamed wild, the essence of chaos, the counter-force opposing law and order, opposing civilization, and everything that forcibly subjugates the living entity of the wild. But in such a civilized world, striving to reach a state of pure order by denying the chaotic aspects of life itself is a world that has no room for growth, doesn't want growth, and therefore falls into stagnation. The great wolf Fenrir is not just chaos, but the very essence of the wild, the true nature of the world. The wolf Fenrir is all the natural disasters that destroy human life constantly and brings down forcibly entire civilizations. It is indeed the untamed wild nature, the natural forces we humans cannot possibly control, and when such forces manifest themselves, there is nothing we can do. The great wolf was placed in chains, its nature was denied, the gods prevented it from manifesting its powers and its very existence. They betrayed the great wolf, wounded it, enslaved it. Fenrir was forced to restrain its nature, and when the wolf is set free again, able to once more be what it was born to be, live and experience its own nature again, its wrath will be even greater. Because when you forcibly deny someone from being who they are, that won't end that person's nature, but it will only serve to lose control of it when to that person it is finally given the freedom to express its nature. What the gods could have done was to find a place where Fenrir could be of use, and have a purpose, and be free to unleash its nature, progressively working with it, learning with it, and controlling it. The gods wanted to forcibly have an orderly world, but there is no order without chaos. A balance should have been created, because when we deny an essential part of life, of our very existence, it will prove to be disastrous when such forces are unleashed and no one can control them because it wasn't allowed to be expressed before. This is what we did to us in our construction of orderly societies. We have tried to contain the wild nature in each of us. We have tried to live outside the natural world and denying the chaotic forces of nature, the world and the entire cosmos. Which is why we shall never live in harmony with ourselves and with others around us, because we contain that which cannot be contained. Or rather, we do not give room for various aspects of our very existence because they have no place in a civilized world. And so we will constantly struggle with such aspects because they remain there, they call to us, but we just don't know how to heed the call and introduce it in the societies that condemn such aspects of our wild existence. It's a mistake. The wolf cannot be chained, not forever anyway, because sooner or later its power will be unleashed, it's inevitable, and when it does, it will be impossible to stop and very destructive. We should accept nature as it is, wild and untamed. We should accept both its order and its chaos, and understand it, live with it, accept it, and in this way we can have a balance. The more you push something away that wants to exist and manifest itself, the stronger it will get and will try to ferociously be heard. Whatever nature we have inside of us, if we do not acknowledge it and learn how to control it, and just keep pushing it down and away, it will only want to come out even more powerful, stronger, and absolutely impossible to control. The werewolf cult is not about unleashing the beast and not measuring the consequences. It's about knowing how to control it, living in balance with it, accepting it, and let it work through us in the most beneficial way possible. It's not about living in darkness, but about finding enlightenment in that darkness. Embracing the wolf spirit, the wild nature in us, is embracing the primordial dark wisdom, which is essential to understand the chaotic aspects of our very existence. Truly know ourselves and understand all our aspects, our entire nature, so we can better work through our strong points and our flaws. We cannot focus solely on the good aspects or on the orderly aspects, otherwise we will always feel empty, and when the chaotic aspects manifest themselves, we will be in doubt and scared and completely disoriented, and a crushing sense of loneliness and a feeling of not belonging will take hold of us. We must embrace too the chaotic and dark aspects of life, of the natural world, and of the cosmos itself, because we are physical manifestations of all those powers. And if we deny parts of our essence, we deny parts of ourselves, and we cannot truly appreciate the beauty of life, the true beauty of living life itself, living wild. The great wolf was chained, unable to be what it was born to be, forbidden to express its nature the way it is. And if you look into the eyes of the wolf in chains, rejected, its own nature being denied, prevented from being wild and run free to rejoice in the hunt, you will see great sorrow, the sorrow in yourself, knowing that such a powerful spirit is confined to a pitiful existence, a mournful shadow of its former self. Because in the eyes of the great beast, you see yourself reflected. We are not meant to deny our wild spirit. We are meant to learn with it. Understanding the nature of this wild power is to understand the self-control we must have in order to live a harmonious life with what we are and what we can be. The inner wolf in us, this unrelenting, powerful spirit of the wild, can and should be understood. Live wild and live free. Alright, my dear friends, I hope you have enjoyed this video. And hello YouTube, welcome to my den. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next video. And as always, tack för idag.